heart wants what it wants. His has led him to some amazing highs and lows, as he followed its guidance out of a career in software development into investment banking and then onto his own startup. Meet Aftab Ahmed Naqvi. His journey has been a roller coaster ride. He started his company with a single laptop in a garage, armed with just the burning desire to create something. He had no idea that he would create a whole new paradigm of marketing. Today, GovindRaj is at the forefront of the industry, a thought leader in the space and voted as one of the best places to work in India. Everything was a lesson that only went on to engineer their success. It's a great story and we're really looking forward to share it with you.
Hello and welcome. Bootstrapping a business is tough. Staying bootstrapped and remaining focused on the core proposition, raising funds through internal accruals and fighting with competitors who are well-funded is a really tough task. Well, my guest for today, Aftab Ahmed, has done precisely that. Aftab, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Govind.
Right. And we're going to do something very interesting, Aftab. We're going to see, while creating this interesting thread art, exposing a surprise white space, as we call it, what are the linkages between the way we do this and the way you built your company?
Sure, looks interesting.
Right. So let me ask you the first question, right? So you started your company and you focused on digital marketing, then you've added a whole bunch of things as what you call it, integrated marketing?
We call it integrated, is a huge word. Right. And we're on the journey to combine digital marketing and the traditional forms of marketing to give a much more holistic solution.
Right. And when you started, you had a couple of good clients who backed you.
Yeah.
So why did they do that?
I think we were one of the first movers when it came to digital marketing, right? And our initial successes with Maddover Donuts did really well in terms of social media marketing to grow the brand.
So what did you do for Maddover Donuts?
We were the partners for helping it scale up using the power of social media primarily to be one of the most loved donut brands across India.
And is that because they didn't want to spend on conventional advertising or because this was a much better avenue?
I feel the audiences were on social media, especially the younger audiences for the brand at that time. And it was a far more economical way to reach them as well. Maddover Donuts being a startup at that time. So those were one of our initial clients along with Snapdeal, Pepperfry, Groupon, Quikr, which we helped them as digital marketing partners. And then one thing led to another after that.
Right. So we're talking about how do you fight bigger people who are well-funded, well-resourced, and perhaps institutions in their own way. And you're a bootstrap startup who's starting out, who's someone who's actually just begun as we just did, right? I mean, drawing the first threads, connecting the nails. So tell us what happened next.
I would love to go back to 2010. You know, it was 2 years since we had launched from a garage. Rohan, Dushyant and me, three of us. And the digital market.
And you were all in college together?
We were in Jai Hind together. And you know, the entire digital industry was growing very fast. Our initial clients were doing extremely well. And there was a lot of interest, VC interest and investor interest in GovindRaj as well. You know, at that time we had opportunities to raise external funding.
So you're saying you had investors waiting to put money into your company, but you said we don't want it because?
Because I feel that the excess cash would not have added marginal benefit to our company. And we already...
But were you afraid of getting diluted also?
I don't think that was a main concern at that time. The concern was that with the extra money that we get, how can will we be in a position to do hyper growth, or can we do it even without that? Right? And we came to the conclusion that the decision would be tough, but I think we can achieve everything that we wanted without the external fund.
Right. And this is also the point, I'm assuming, as you're getting successful, other people are coming into the marketplace.
Absolutely.
And you started facing competitors or rivals who were definitely bigger and even better funded than you.
I think we started early, but there was a lot of competition, especially in our industry. You know, what we did for that is we diversified. So in 2010, we started investing in our own products, and we also went to Middle East, where we launched GovindRaj Middle East.
Aftab, culture is a very intricate thing. I mean, as intricate as the threads that we are now using to connect the dots and the nails, as it were. So how did you decide what was the culture that was in turn going to attract people who were potentially going to join big rivals like a Flipkart or a Snapdeal or whoever?
Sure, I think very interesting question. You know, both Rohan and me had this great resolve that let's build our culture on some fundamental pillars. One of them was always hire for character over talent. One was that whenever you're meeting a talent, make sure you understand the larger why, as to why you exist or why you have to come to work every day. And at times we have noticed that if you're able to convey that and make a person understand, then it goes even beyond the money, right? And then the industry is small. Once you have an open, transparent culture where people are not scared to, voice their opinions or feel that they'll get criticized if they are sharing their feedback, right? And the word spreads pretty fast, I would say, in our industry. And then one thing led to another, and soon Gozoob became the destination for top digital talent to come and build their careers.
Now, if you were to look back in the 10 years that you've been around, is it 10 years or little?
It's 10 years this year.
Exactly 10 years, right? Yeah. So, how, if in this period of transition, what would be the highlights? And I'm talking about people, I'm talking about the ability to fight a bigger battle.
Yeah.
What would those highlights be? The 3 headlines that you feel have brought you till here.
Well, I think one headline would be in 2013. We acquired our largest competitor.
Okay.
The company was called Red Digital. And it had a lot of brand equity in the Indian market, right? And acquiring the company, integrating the two cultures, and managing to retain all the clients that we wanted to and all the team members that we wanted to was a great experience for us as entrepreneurs.
So did you pay cash or was it a cash plus equity?
It was cash plus a structured deal that we did, something that has been extremely successful on both ends of the corner. And I think that was also one of the turning points for the Gozoob story in India.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is one. Another highlight would be that we are greatly inspired by Jim Collins' theory in his book Good to Great, where he mentions that fire bullets and then fire a cannonball.
Right. So a good example would be?
A good example. So till 2015, we were the digital marketing agency for Mumbai Indians, and we were privileged to do that. And did some large-scale campaigns, primarily on digital. In 2015, we got the opportunity to work with Kolkata Knight Riders as the integrated marketing agency, and we came up with a tagline called Ami KKR, which did extremely well. And we did the print, we did the outdoor, we did the radio, we did the TVC. It was a great experience for us.
So this was an example of getting integrated, and it's also in a way pointing to the future of what you're going to do as an agency.
Sure.
And so what's next in a larger sense?
Well, the past 10 years have been of hyper growth. And we expect no less going forward. I think we're going to continue with our acquisition. So there's a couple of agencies that in a very short time you will hear in the media that we are acquiring. We'll continue with our international as well as domestic expansions, as well as investing in our products as well as our capability.
Right. And we're almost arriving to the end of our little journey here in this beautiful thread art, and we've still got that message to show to our audiences, which is going to be a surprise message and a very important one, which also brings me to my other question. So when younger people come to you, and I'm sure they do, and say, I want to start something like you, because an agency seems like it has low entry barriers. You just a bunch of people get together exactly like you did, get a couple of laptops, sit on bean bags and start creating something.
Sure.
So what's your advice?
Well, my advice is that to ask yourself, what is the reason you want to start an agency? Well, agency is a very misused word, so I won't like to use that word. I would say a marketing company.
Okay.
And if the answer at times comes for money or for fame, I would advise them to think again, right? Because running an agency is no easy business. And at times when the going is tough, you have to have a larger purpose, to drive you forward, right? And if you have that, then I would encourage aspiring entrepreneurs to start.
So when you work with clients today, is the way you approach their problem different from the way you did it 10 years ago? Or is it the same?
I think,
I'm trying to understand, is your DNA the same? Has it changed?
No, I think it has evolved. The cornerstone of the DNA has remained the same. Like for example, today we love to have an equal seat on the table with our brands, right? So that we can influence business decisions. Because as digital marketing, we are sitting on so much of data, and all this data can be used to make better decisions by the brand, right? So we love to work as trusted advisors than just as a vendor or a client.
Give me an example. When you say data, you mean about consumer behavior?
It's about consumer behavior, it's about online chatter, it's about competitor tracking, right? There's a lot of data out there today on social media, on the digital web, and it all boils down to how do you make good use of the data.
Right, and is your understanding of the data or the mining of it one of your competitive advantages as well against bigger players?
I would certainly say that.
So, and you've invested a lot in that in terms of engineering and so on?
Absolutely. In terms of research planning, how do we combine the offline data along with the digital data to help audiences and our brands make better decisions is something that is our unfair advantage.
Right. Aftab, how do you protect yourself against unexpected challenges?
Unexpected challenges. Well, there's one thing that Mike Tyson said once, which is really stuck in my head. He said that we all have a plan till we are punched in the face. And it's not very far from reality when it comes to a startup, right? Because you're either being punched in the face and you have two options. Either you bounce back or you dodge them, right? And we choose the latter.
So what would have been a punch in your face in the early days? Rejection by a client or something going wrong in a deal?
I would say that at times you have to stay up because digital marketing is so fast moving, right? And you can't be left behind, right? You have a particular idea, but suddenly you have another platform which could be leveraged as well, right? So you have to be staying up to date with that, right? So I think the challenges that what we realize is that you need to not stay one step, not two, but 3 steps ahead of the game. And in Gozu, we popularly call it 3 moves ahead.
Right. And speaking about moves, we've seemed to have finished almost all our moves. So our message, which is our surprise message, if you want to call it that, is never stop. And that also brings me to the last question that I want to pose to Aftab. So what makes you ensure, or rather, how do you ensure that you never stop?
Right. So something that I remind myself, actually, you know, is that the race is long and in the end only with ourselves, right? So sleep well, stress less, and drink plenty of water.
Well, that's a wonderful piece of advice, Aftab, and thank you very much. And I will surely follow it. And that's also a good note to end on. And as they say, the Aegons of business never stop. Thank you.
I mean, they created the cult brand before we did.
You know, and I think that's fascinating to hear.
Because you know, even today, you know, while we don't do any kind of mainline advertising or stuff like that, a lot of Chumbak has been spread through, you know, word of mouth and actually people walking into stores. And I think people have taken the brand and run with it. You know what I mean? So it wasn't us saying that ye kharido or do this and buy this and stuff like that. And I think that's been the greatness of us being able to connect with consumers and engage with consumers on a way that, you know, we never thought possible.